Hello, everybody. Welcome into Bristol Motor Speedway. We are live. It is a little NASCAR after dark action. If you're with us on the East Coast, it is officially Sunday. So happy Sunday. We saw the race on Saturday. Obviously, we have gone into the morning hours, but Steve Letarte, Alex Weaver here, still kicking it at Bristol Motor Speedway. We just watched the celebration of Christopher Bell, who I don't want to say it came out of nowhere, but it was the restart that completely changed the race for the 20 because it shot out of a cannon, made it to victory lane, gets it done. But if you are another driver from another team other than Joe Gibbs Racing, you need to take a look at Joe Gibbs Racing's notebook from the last 3 weeks. Complete domination from that organization.
Yeah, Toyota, namely Joe Gibbs Racing, entered the playoffs where everybody wants to be, which is like, full steam ahead. They dominated really the first 3 races between Briscoe, Denny Hamlin, and now Christopher Bell. But you said it. I really think if the 6 car chooses the bottom, he wins the race. The 20 car chooses the bottom. I thought he might have gave a shove to Zane Smith, but not really. I think Zane just went in. We saw that all day long. Guys on older tires kind of go in, shove up to the middle. That's what happened. The seas literally parted, and Christopher Bell went through there. Now, I'll give Brad Keselowski credit. He gave the race fans the last couple laps and gave them a heck of a shot in the middle of 3 and 4. But Bell, a feisty Bell. Last week he was feisty on the radio, and this week he was just feisty behind the wheel. It was a hell of a drive, though. Impressive.
I also want to call out something that's super cool for Steve and I. If you don't notice, there in Colossus TV at Bristol Motor Speedway, we have the Inside the Race logo, which is pretty cool for us because we're sitting here and it's just the perfect backdrop. There is no place like Bristol. I love this racetrack, but it's even cooler with Inside the Race and Colossus TV. But Christopher Bell gets his 4th win this season, but it's the first win this team has had since March of this season. Surprised that the 20 showed up?
Not surprised. Surprised it has taken since March. Like I think Christopher Bell's a title contender every year. He won 3 in a row after the Daytona 500. Right, he won the next 3 races. Atlanta, Coda, somewhere else at the end, right there at March. March 9th was his last win. So I'm more surprised it has taken this long to get back to victory lane. Now, what I think the competitors need to be concerned about is he obviously is streaky. 3 in a row before. We go to New Hampshire where he is statistically the best driver there. So this is one that I didn't have Bell picked. I had Blaney picked before the race. Ty Gibbs was actually Dale Jarrett's pick, which I think was a great pick. He had a great night. So we knew Bell was going to be good, but he just was around all night long. This race kind of had a little bit of everything. And you wonder what this is going to do. Is this a spark for the 20 team? What it is that we forget, it's 5 more playoff points, which is going to help them in the next round. The way this system works, you kind of continue to build off one another. And listen, Bell did it. It was. I didn't even have him, to be honest. This sounds awful. I didn't even really have him on the last restart.
Me either.
I kind of ignored. I had Brad going around the top, so I just didn't have Bell. Shame on us in the booth.
And I think my eyes, too, were on the 48, seeing what Bowman was going to do. The storyline at the end of the race, obviously, with the 2 teammates in Hendrick Motorsports, was Chase Elliott going to be in? Was Alex Bowman going to be in? It was kind of the restart of me just eyeing what the 77 and the 48 were doing, and Christopher Bell just gets shot out of a cannon and finds his path there on the bottom of Bristol.
The bottom. I said it during the broadcast. I know we're going to talk about tires and tires were a story, but I don't want tires to overshadow. I hate to say this. It crushes me to say this, but Jeff Burton was right, and he's been right for years now. He has told me that the magic to Bristol is when the bottom is the dominant lane because as a driver, you can move somebody out of the dominant lane. Yeah. When it gets to the top, you can't move them, right? The wall's there. So the guy just runs the wall. It gets super fast. You can't go anywhere. You try to time runs in traffic. When it moved to the bottom, if you wanted the spot, you could kind of shove him. And it was. We saw it tonight. It was Dale Jr. or Dale Sr. hitting Terry Labonte. Yep. It was Rusty getting moved by Jeff Gordon. Like that move was back. Yep. And it felt good. Jeff Burton's going to be wearing a T-shirt all weekend long, I swear, that says, my favorite Bristol is a bottom dominant Bristol because it never moved up. So it never moved up. Why? The tires wore, there was so much just dust and debris. It was so dirty you couldn't run the top. So the bottom stayed dominant, and it was such a good race to watch. Tires actually overshadowed it. Like we had tire wear, but I'm not sure we needed some. We didn't need as much as we had. but it's going to overshadow what I think just being running around the bottom did.
Yeah, my favorite thing to do during a race when I'm listening to Letarte on the broadcast is I want to see how far in the race we get before he says the word chaos.
Oh.
It was not far tonight. I don't even know what lap we were on.
Can you see my headache?
But
is it visual? Because I have a headache.
Came out of your mouth so early, and it was due to the tires and the buildup of just absolute rubber debris. The racetrack was not laying down rubber.
So to go all the way back, last spring we saw this here.
Yes.
They could only run 30, 40 laps. They had to figure out how to make tires last. They ended up running maybe 60 or 70 laps. Leaving there, everybody thought it was awful. The drivers actually raised their hand. I'm going to give them credit. So now, wait. That was a little too much, but we felt like that was more what we're looking for. From behind the wheel, I could decide if I could run 30 or 70 laps. So Goodyear continued. They said, all right, we're not going to change the tire. Everybody wanted to change the tire. We came back the night race a year ago with the same tire that wouldn't work in the spring.
Yep.
And they ran until they were blue in the face. So now we're all scratching our heads. We're like, it's physically the same tire. So this was the race where they were bound and determined to get a tire too soft. We unload in practice. Well, heck, they run 70 laps. And we all throw our hands up in the air and say, it still wasn't going to be an issue.
And every driver that I spoke with over the last 48 hours said that they didn't feel a single change in the tire.
Nothing. Same tire.
Practice and qualifying, they didn't feel a thing. Felt like the exact same tire they've always had.
In our TV production meeting, we kind of go around and talk about storylines, and it came to me, and I'm like, so I guess we should be prepared just in case the tires wear out. I don't think it's going to happen, and we moved along. And then we dropped the green flag, and it looked like a normal Bristol, and then instantly it was A.J. Allmendinger. Then it was the next one. Then it was the next one. And then it was, as soon as they pulled the tire off of the 16 car and I saw what was wrong with it, we knew we were in for an interesting night. I'll be honest. I'm okay with it. It's a little too – here's the thing. If you want tire wear, you have to be willing to have too much.
Yeah.
I think that's the key. Like you can't have both. You can't say, we want tire wear, but we can't have this. Well, then you don't want it because this is what is going to happen. You cannot always be on the conservative side. You're going to get not enough most of the time. So I actually applaud Goodyear. So Goodyear Tire and Rubber is in here in a marketing. They want to sell tires. So I'm not sure how you spin being so good at your job that you can purposely make a tire that wears out. But that's what they did. Like, go buy your Goodyear tires because they're here to market, and they proved, and the interview was great, that they said, hey, we can build a tire. The drivers want a tire that could wear out.
Yep.
We built one. It did it. It was so much so NASCAR had to give them an extra set of tires in the middle of the race.
Nobody worked harder tonight than the guys down on pit road and Goodyear because it was a constant. Every time you would look over at the Goodyear building, it was just men and women running around, and then obviously the fellows down there on pit road. This is looking at the 48 crew right here. I mean, it was just you just saw them just looking at tires all night long. It was the story of the race. I want to show these pictures that I took down on pit road because obviously we were looking at all the tires coming off of race cars. But I did get some photos of, just rubbish.
That's getting your money's worth out of a set of tires right there.
It's a complete hole in the tire.
So basically you wear the tire all the way. So what I love about this is we have seen tracks where tires, when they fail, like especially left rears at the high-speed tracks, they blow and the car wrecks.
Yep.
I'm never a fan of that, right? A tire that just that gives way. This doesn't get way. The driver knows when this is happening. So they feel it coming. They're able to get to pit road. They can run longer if they so choose. It kind of had what I'm looking for, and I didn't think it was. I thought there was no chance it was going to happen tonight. So the fact that it happened here at Bristol gives me hope that we can build these tires to be. You remember, the tires are so wide. That's really been some of the challenge.
Yeah.
But if they were able to pull it off here, I'm hoping we can get to a spot where maybe we see this at, Richmond or New Hampshire or some of the other short tracks.
Yeah, I would love to see it. Can we take this tire to Martinsville? What do we do? What do we do?
If you can get a tire to look like that at Martinsville, then you are Harry Houdini. That's going to be an impressive move.
Well, we are officially live here, so that means you guys can ask us questions. You can comment off in the chat. As I say every week, if you have anything mean to say, don't say it to Steve and I. Say it to somebody else. Just attack somebody else in the chat.
Yeah,
not
for
us,
sure.
because
For sure.
only nice comments. But let's move on to, obviously, when I have my crew chief here, we want to go to a segment that we like to call Pit Box, because I also want to look at these rocker panel and the front right fires that we're building. And mostly I noticed from the blue ovals of the Fords. What was the deal with all the fires on pit road?
So we had this a few years ago. And
particularly Josh Berry.
I felt awful for Josh Berry. I don't know
thing.
what has happened to this poor guy, but in the first round he had 2 wrecks and a fire. But I'll tell you, his interview kind of it infused me for the rest of the race because he said, man, it was going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm great with the tire wear. I'm going to do some investigative reporting this week to find out if there's something different the Fords are doing that are causing this. Because if not, we as an industry have to make sure this doesn't happen. We don't want to see Josh Berry fall out because of a fire that he had nothing to do with. It almost cost Austin Cindric a spot in the playoffs.
It almost cost him, exactly.
Just a few
Moving
points
on to the
away.
next round.
So I think coming out of here, when you say, hey, what do we have to work on? I'm fine with the tire. It's the fires that's the problem. Why is it Fords? I don't know. Everybody has a little bit different cooling around that rocker panel, but what happens is the rubber builds up. As long as it stays under the hood and on the headers, it kind of catches on fire and then blows out. What happens is it then gets into the headers, go through the rocker, and there's some cooling areas. When it finally infiltrates in there, you can't get enough air to it to get it to go out, and it just continues to grow until finally it catches other stuff on fire, the carbon fiber and the other things. I mean, look at this in-car of Austin Cindric just sitting here.
This is scary to me, though.
Oh, I'd be getting out. Cindric is tougher than me.
I'm out, too.
I am absolutely out. Snakes and fire.
Josh Berry stayed in way longer than I would have.
Totally.
Yeah, when you start feeling the chemical effects from a fire and you're getting ready to pass out, we saw Josh obviously get out of the car and he was kind of fell to his knees a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, look at this right here.
Absolutely not. I'm out.
Yeah, and that's why I think we as an industry owe it. First of all, see how the 21 and the 2, not only Fords, but both Penske prepared Fords.
Yep.
So let's just make sure there's something, even if they didn't do it on purpose, right? But is there any sort of material or is there something that's different in those cars than the other cars? Get to that answer. So I think we can learn a lot, as crazy as it sounds, for maybe the 22 or the 12, the cars that didn't have problems.
Yeah.
And see if they have any different look than the other cars. Because I do think the fires have to be, it's really unfair for Josh Berry that he didn't get a chance. Scary.
This whole 3 weeks have been, I'm sure, something that Josh Berry does not want to look back on. We are going to talk about.
I don't think he saw a stage finish, for the record. I don't think the poor guy saw a green and white checkered flag.
He did not. Not a single one in the playoffs.
Oh.
We're going to get into the 4 that were eliminated because we officially have set the round of 12. But before we do that, let's look at some of the guys that one got lucky. One may have missed his shot at his first win in the NASCAR Cup Series. So let's take a look at the horseshoe that was with the 9 of Chase Elliott tonight, because he had an incident with the 42. Somehow, maybe the 11 was involved.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at this, and I want Steve to break this down again. I know he did a little bit in the booth, but as we get a second look here, because the 9 advances, so Chase Elliott is into the round of 12, but he was sitting there probably with his hands, sitting on his hands, waiting for this result.
Yeah, I think it's just a misjudge by the 9 of Chase Elliott. He's on the outside. He's trying to get back to the bottom. He fills a hole that is there but closing. I don't think John Hunter Nemechek can react enough. And the reason I say that is because the 11 absolutely hits the back of John Hunter, which tells me, if John Hunter overdrove the corner, he would drive off the nose of the 11. So I feel like the fact that the 11 and the 42 are close enough to hit each other, they're both entering at the right speed. So I just think, look, the 9 knows what happens if he gets stuck on the outside. He tries to fill a hole. He gets run into from behind. A little bit of his own doing. I think Chase even said, he goes, maybe I stacked him up too much. I think he did. I mean, the fire is out the pipes of the 42. We talk all season about how you perform in the regular season, how many points you score, and that's what happened to Chase Elliott. He advanced tonight not because of Bristol, but because of regular season effort, the playoff points he brought into the playoffs, and the runs he had in the first 2 races. And, that's the system. He was the driver that I was concerned about, whether they were going to be good enough, because he's just been consistent but not crazy fast. He's the type of driver that's going to have to be a little faster, just faster in the next 3 races to continue.
Have you seen anything from the 9 camp, though, over the next 3 weeks that, we've had good runs, and I said this at Watkins Glen a couple of weeks ago. It's been good for the 9, but it's been no weeks of great for me.
So the only thing I would say is, I don't know if this is the benefit, but I feel like the other Hendrick cars have backed up to the 9. Like, I always had the 5 and the 24 much faster than the 9.
Yep.
But now I think they're all behind the Toyotas at the moment.
Yep.
So I guess glass half full, the 9s run the same speed as his teammates.
Okay.
The glass half empty is his teammates aren't as fast as they need to be. So I don't know if he caught them or they backed up to him, but either way, they're all together. So maybe what they're working on, like, that organization is going to work night and day to try to find what they need.
Yeah.
So if it is a similar need for all of the 3 playoff cars left now that Alex Bowman's been eliminated, maybe that's the answer for the 9.
All right, so that's what happened with Chase Elliott. He obviously was out of the race early, but advances to the round of 12. Now let's take a look at a driver that was not in the playoffs, but was going after his first Cup Series win tonight. And all of us, well, I can't speak for all of us, most of us that I have spoken with over the years, it's a matter of when Ty Gibbs gets his first win, not if he gets his first win. And he has been knocking on the door numerous amounts of times, but this one, it looked like it may be the 54 shot, and man, he missed pit road.
Yeah, so we showed those worn out tires. I'm assuming this 54 is riding around on fabric. He just drives down in there like he has Goodyear tire still available, and it isn't. It's sitting on the fabric. So when he gets on the brakes, I mean, you see how much it closes up on the 19.
Yeah.
He closes up like 20 car lengths. It is not an egregious mistake. We have seen drivers miss pit road before. I actually felt like I jinxed him because earlier in the race, I said, man, this is a pit road. You don't do a lot of green flag pit stops, and he had done it so well all day long and just totally missed it there. This is one that I think he's going to want to get back. I feel like he had a car capable of winning the race. I think he was doing everything right. It was a mistake we've seen a lot of drivers make, but that just reminds us when you say, hey, Bell come out of nowhere and won the race. Mm-hmm. Well, that's how much stuff you have to do right.
Yeah.
And for Ty Gibbs, he's still winless, but I was impressed. I mean, I think this is the one that I feel the best about. I know that sounds weird, but I've seen him make other mistakes that I thought were kind of youth or inexperience or frustration. This was all the right type of mistake. It was a driver trying too hard. Hard to fault a guy for trying too hard.
Yeah, and you did make an interesting comment in the booth about the first one's the hardest. The
So
first
hard to
win
win
is
your
so
first.
hard to get, but it's also you have to have experience. And I know you mentioned the 100 number that you like to see drivers kind of hit that 100.
Yeah, so I believe that the Cup level, you know, everybody said, hey, what's the difference between Saturday and Sunday? And Cole Custer had the best quote ever because I was asking him when he came to Cup the first time. And I said, man, you know, Sunday is kind of like the deep end of the pool. And he scoffed, and he goes, no. In the deep end of the pool, I know which way to swim. He goes, racing on Sunday is like getting thrown in the ocean. I have no idea which way the shore. I'm lost. He goes, 26, 28, 32nd in the Cup race is the hardest you'll drive in your entire life because they don't make mistakes. In Xfinity or in trucks, when you get pretty good, you kind of just pressure the guy. He makes a mistake, you go by. He goes, I will run on a guy's bumper for 100 laps for 29th, and the guy never misses the groove. They're all that good. So for that reason, I don't care what you raced before you got here. I think you need 100 starts in the Cup Series before your talent is willing to be evaluated, especially in my opinion. So for Ty Gibbs, even though he's been in premier equipment, it takes 100. He's just now, I think, about 115 starts. And I think now's the time where we should expect him to win a race. I don't know if it'll happen this year, but I would be shocked if we get to the 600 next year in May and Ty Gibbs doesn't have 1 or 2 wins.
If the stats speak for themselves, this is his best racetrack. So he just has something. He has something figured out at Bristol, particularly in this fall race. So
which you don't come. Bristol's not your best racetrack by chance.
No.
You have to be very, very talented.
Yep.
Look, I think he would have won a race if SVG wasn't a Cup driver. I think he would have run a road course race by now. So there's been a few like small things that have stacked up against Ty Gibbs.
So you think a win is coming?
Absolutely.
This year or no?
I feel like this was his shot.
Okay.
I feel like we are getting to the time in the playoffs where man, just the playoff drivers are so just they go to another level.
Okay. I like it. I'm okay with that answer. I do think it comes fairly early next year.
That's what I think. I think he's like a spring Phoenix winner or a Las Vegas winner. I think he gets something early next year.
Yep. Okay, well, unfortunately, 4 drivers were eliminated, so their quest for a championship trophy at the end of the season is over. And that's who's riding our struggle bus here on Inside the Race. So let's pull up those standings, see the 4 guys. Josh Berry eliminated very early, unfortunately.
Yeah, basically corner 2 at Darlington eliminated Josh Berry when he got loose. So, okay, so that's on the 21 car.
Okay.
Like they hit the ground, Darlington, they hit the ground, got loose, 21 wrecks. He gets junked by the 9 last week, and he has his fire this week. So, but I think I said DNFs are what's going to eliminate drivers. His one at Darlington, the other 2 just kind of sealed it, but the one at Darlington put the 21 behind. That was the end of his day.
Okay, and then next out, I believe, was SVG, who was also eliminated pretty early tonight.
So his miss was Darlington. because I think so many people had problems. He just needed to. Remember, they ran that crazy strategy. No, it wasn't a crazy strategy, the wrong way, but they ran a strategy and it went wrong, and they got caught a lap down. I really think if that yellow doesn't come out, SVG is closer in points. I still don't know if he gets through. He just needs more oval experience. I mean, you know, he is a, you know, mid-pack to back third of a pack guy, and you know, he's getting better at the ovals, but it's hard. He runs against guys that ran ovals their whole life. We're going to see him back in the playoffs. The guy's going to win road course races next year, and I think he's going to learn. But you know, the playoffs are going to be really difficult in their current format for SVG.
If the Roval were in the first round, SVG is making it to the round of 12.
Oh, so yeah, for sure.
Easy for me to call that one out. Okay, and then the 3 of Austin Dillon was the 14th spot. He's the third guy eliminated.
I think we should applaud Austin Dillon for winning Richmond and get himself in the playoffs.
Yep.
I think advancing for 80 would have been a tall task. He needed to put pressure on, because remember, Cindric gave him the chance, right? The fire, well, Cindric didn't really, but the fire in the 2 car, if the 3 could have scored some points, he just didn't have it tonight. He is, you know, he earned a spot in the playoffs, he deserved a spot in the playoffs, and he deserved to be eliminated.
And then finally, the final driver eliminated right there below the elimination line was the 48 of Alex Bowman, who created some drama for me tonight. It was fun to watch of who was going to be eliminated. At one point it was the 48, at one point it might have been the 9, then the 2 came into factor with obviously the fire down on pit road. But for you, Steve, does Bowman win if he takes row 2 on the inside on that final restart?
No tires, so I think the 48 is done either way. I think that spin is what, this spin right here burns the set of tires for the 48. So they did all they could to keep themselves in position. Just wasn't meant to be for the 48. And look, he didn't get in on wins. He got in on points. And we didn't get the best version of the 48 for 3 weeks. I thought Alex did a really nice job in his interview, because it would have been really easy to, hey, we couldn't get the tires changed.
Yep.
You know, at Darlington, we kind of looked like the Bad News Bears. We couldn't quite get it together. Then last week, they had another issue on pit road. They make changes to the pit crew. So I give Hendrick Motorsports and the decision makers there the credit to make changes. But in the end, we didn't get the best version of the 48. I think the best version of the 48 absolutely advances. But, you know, such as sports, right? You don't get a do-over. And they didn't have their best. So he even said in his interview, he goes, you know, we had more speed in the summer. He couldn't quite put his finger on it.
Yep.
I actually think he had the right answer. It's easy to blame the pit crew, but I don't think they had all aspects of the race team gelling in the first round, and that's what the 48 needed.
I think we have that. Can we play the sound from Alex Bowman post-race tonight at Bristol?
You can really point at something that cost us. Being out of tires at the end isn't good, right? And honestly, we just played the hand that we could and stayed out. But if I had to pick one thing, you know, our cycle tire restarts were just really poor. I couldn't go at all, 0 grip. So our restarts on stickers, or even when we put our qualifying scuffs on and stuff, it was fine. But cycle tires was really bad. So hats off to our whole Ally 48 team. They did a really good job throughout the course of the day, and you know, trying to be better after a rough last 2 weeks, and I think we swung it the right direction, and we can continue to do that for the next what do we have, 7 weeks left. So yeah, we just got to keep digging. Certainly sucks to not transfer, but our back was against a wall coming in here. We knew it was going to be a tough thing to do. So yeah, not a terrible day for us, and we'll keep digging.
Cycle tire restarts. He's talking about restarting on like old tires when you don't put new tires on. His car seemed to go straight. Look, he said it the best, which is they just, you know, they didn't have what they needed in any of the 3 races. Now, but there's a different way to look at it, though. He could have very easily just missed the playoffs. You know, they made the playoffs after not winning a race. They found a way to find their way in after being emotionally, you know, kicked out last year by. So it's been quite a roller coaster for the 48. 4 cars again for the organization in the playoffs. Somebody has to get cut out. The chance of taking all Boulder Phoenix is pretty low, and this time it was the 48.
Well, they were the 4 that are eliminated. So now officially we have our round of 12. We'll go on to New Hampshire in Loudon next weekend, next Sunday. But let's look at the 12 that remain. We have obviously the 19 of Chase Briscoe, the 11 of Denny Hamlin, the 20 of Christopher Bell, the 12 of Ryan Blaney, the 24 of William Byron, the 5 of Kyle Larson, the 23 of Bubba Wallace, the 45 of Tyler Reddick, the 22 of Joey Logano, the 1 of Ross Chastain, the 9 of Chase Elliott, and the 2 of Austin Cindric. What do you think of the 12, Steve?
Look, I think they're all deserving. They run very well. The 4 we lost, I think, are fair for how they ran. I'll tell you that the highlight for me in round 1 was the 23 of Bubba Wallace. He won.
Agreed.
He won at the Brickyard.
Yeah.
Did kind of like skipped his way in, feeling great about being in the playoffs.
He has been skippy lately.
Like a lot. I'm like, man, I don't even know who this guy is. But then, you know what? He just put great drives on. Wasn't a great night tonight.
Yep.
Not on him. A lot of things went right, wrong, indifferent. I just want to see, I've seen both things happen, right? If you had a rough first round, you look at the reset as a breath.
Yep.
If you had a great first round, you're Bubba Wallace, you just lost points. You went from well above the cut line to only 1 point above the cut line. Does that lighthearted, positive Bubba Wallace continue? I hope it does, because I actually think the 23 has proved to me he has what it takes. This race team has been running really well. I think the points say it all, the 11, the 24, the 5, and the 20. And I'll even throw the 12 in, even the 19. I think the top 6, barring a DNF, are going to run well enough to advance. I know there's a road course in here, which is a little bit of a question mark. It's Chase down to Reddick. I want to see the back half of the top 12 and see how they run.
So my opinion on the drivers of 2311 right now, it's like Bubba and Reddick have switched personalities.
It has. Reddick is like Mr. Negative.
He is Eeyore. And
Eeyore,
I
like that.
love Tyler so much. And it's so interesting to watch Tyler go from the Xfinity Series, where he just had this like quirky, entertaining personality. And I feel like lately it's kind of been, he takes a lot on his shoulders. He's got, a lot going on with this race team, I know, but it's been interesting for me to watch Bubba Wallace be smiling and Tyler Reddick be frowning.
People just don't understand. So when you see Denny win 59, or you see, the 20 come win tonight, or 3 in a row in the spring, like this garage area is exhausting.
Yes.
Because, no one's 95% is good enough. So when you miss any facet of your fastball, whether it's the car, the pit crew, the driver, you're just not feeling your best that day, someone is going to outperform you. And I think that's why Reddick is Eeyore, which is a great, I can just see it right now. It's going to rain. It's going to rain. It's just, I think he's Eeyore because he knows something, he's, smart enough and a good enough leader that he's not going to tell us.
Yep.
And put it on something, but something is missing, whether it's the car he's sitting in, whether it's himself, whether it's something is missing for the 45 in its exact moment to be championship caliber. Now, that doesn't mean they can't figure it out in the next 3 weeks, but I think it's even harder when you just started this off by telling me how good Toyota and Gibbs were. Mm-hmm. So he's sitting in basically a Toyota. So I think that also hurts a little bit more as well.
And a super close alliance with Gibbs as well.
Yeah.
It's just interesting how the two organizations are running a little bit different. But kudos to Bubba Wallace. I love seeing a first round of the playoffs where I'm not talking to him about sneaking into the next round. So I feel really good about the 23 so far. Let's get into our weekend winners. We're going to close it out here with myself and Steve. Who were your weekend winners for this weekend at Bristol?
So I'm going to just say the non-playoff guys. There's too many to list. Brad Keselowski, my heart broke for Brad. I thought he drove a great race. I think you asked the question of where Bowman picked. I think, remember, Brad, we all forget, Brad chose before the 20. He chose outside row 3.
Yep.
I struggle with that in hindsight. It's so crystal clear after it happens. But I struggle with that because he had 2 cars in front of him on old tires. Now, he did it because the bottom didn't work all night long. It worked for Christopher Bell. But Bell ended up being things. So my heart broke for Brad. I thought he had a chance. I thought Zane Smith put one of the better drives. Did a great drive. Tonight, John Hunter and Gene Machek continues to just be in the mix. So good job for old JHN. So I have a lot of non-playoff drivers. Ty Gibbs, right? So we have a lot of non-playoff drivers that came to Bristol and managed the chaos.
Yeah, Zane Smith had his 3rd Cup Series top 5 finish in his 74th race. It was his first one since Watkins Glen. And then John Hunter and Nemechek, they're showing Legacy should be proud of the effort that they're putting on at the end of the season. Yeah,
when people talk, so the playoffs are here and everybody talks about the playoff drivers, we forget that, 2026 for Legacy started not even really in the playoffs. I think, way back in Indy, they unloaded a new something at Indy, and they had great speed. I wasn't a believer. They went away for a couple weeks, but now seeing what the 42's been able to do for 3 or 4 weeks in a row now, I'm starting to believe that Legacy can look, they're not a Hendrick, a Gibbs, or a Penske, but every year those three are going to kind of set the bar. I think 2311 getting 2 cars in this year has jumped up, maybe not quite to their level, but can see them from here. The question is who's going to fill that next gap, right? It was an RCR car this year with Austin Dillon, or someone else is going to fulfill that playoff group. It wasn't an RFK car this year, right?
No.
So I think next year it's Spire, Legacy, RFK for what I call like that tier 2 group that are going to try to steal an entry and not let Hendrick get 4 cars in or not let Penske get 4 cars in. Those have to be replaced by somebody, and I think those are the groups trying to do it.
My weekend winners this weekend, I'll go the flip side. I'm going to go playoff drivers for me. It was the 22 of Joey Logano. Came in, it was a big question mark for me or whether he was going to advance and how his night was going to go at Bristol. He just ran a solid race. Nobody touched me. Nobody messed with my race. It was just a Joey Logano Bristol race for me. And then the 2 of Austin Cindric. Love seeing him get in. It was a big, I think, he was automatically, for a lot of folks that I have heard, he was eliminated this round. He was not going to advance to the round of 12, and he ends up doing it.
And, when I look at, like, the next 3 tracks, his road course stuff has been shockingly off. but he's a decent road course racer, so I think the Roval's going to tell the story. How about this? If I'm any of these teams, my goal leaving Kansas is I don't need the Roval. Because if you run you leave Kansas saying, "Oh, we just need a good run at the Roval," that is like a kiss of death that you're going to end up somewhere in the infield in the grass.
Yeah.
And the problem with running at the road courses is there could be 33 cars in the lead lap. Like you could give up 25 or 30 points on the last lap. And I think that's what scares everybody at the 3rd race.
Yeah, both of those drivers for me, Ford had 4 cars finish in the top 5 for the first time since Martinsville in fall of 2023.
You're full of stats.
Ford is my winner. I always like to pick a manufacturer so I can give a little credit to the great folks that make our sport go round. But it's Ford for me, and it's 2 drivers, the 22 and the 2.
So the other winner for me is, and I want to repeat it again, like the series, the drivers have been asking for tire wear, tire fall off. And I didn't think Goodyear could do it. We knew they could when the track was cool. They did that in the spring. But I didn't think something could be built that would actually wear out like it did tonight here. So I don't know if this is the magic fix. I don't know if this is the answer. But sometimes you have to kind of jump the fence to prove it can be done. So bravo Goodyear for having the bravery to bring a tire, to prove they can make a tire wear out. And applaud the drivers. Well, I didn't hear sound from all of them. I had yet to hear any negative sound about the tire. I don't think we're going to have any.
Oh, I love that.
I don't think so.
Not.
I think if you asked any driver in the field, would they rather have this or tires that you can run qualifying laps for an entire fuel run, you wouldn't get a single vote for the latter. Everyone in the entire field would rather have tires you have to manage.
I'm not voting for the latter.
No. I think this is it. I think it's it. It's now I would love that it's not quite that, I'd like to think that they just slow down and not just disappear. But, hey, I'll take this, though.
Yeah. The longest a driver went on a set of tires tonight was 85 laps, and the extra set from Goodyear was released on lap 267.
Yeah, not a surprise at that. I was a little shocked they even waited that long. I think it was clear. As a crew chief,
though, you would have wanted it sooner.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because I do think there were some decision made in the first 2 stages to save a set of tires. But in the end, a lot still ran out of tires. Like Bowman still didn't have tires to put on. So I don't know if it changed the strategy as much as that. If they wouldn't have given that set of tires, I think then the tires would have been too big of a story. Right? Then somebody could have said they would have run well just because they had a set.
Yep.
So I think releasing the set was the right thing, but I agree, maybe a little early.
All right, next week we head to Loudon. We'll give nice lobster to somebody.
What's your comfort with crustaceans? We saw the big lobster.
I don't like the live lobster.
Oh, see, I don't like a dead lobster. It's the rat of the sea. I don't like lobster.
So you won't eat a lobster?
Absolutely not.
See, I like lobster. There's something about it being alive, and then I feel really bad for it, and then we give it a name.
They scream when you put them in the boiling water. Have you heard all that?
See, no.
Yeah.
No.
It's true. It's true.
They give it a name at New Hampshire, and then once you name things, you can't kill something. Like, you gave it a name, that just makes me feel really bad. So But
So
Christopher Bell's my winning pick next week.
Oh, I was going to ask. So you have Bell going back to back.
Yeah.
All right. I think Blaney didn't win a race in the first round.
Oh, interesting pick.
So I think Blaney's gonna come right out and say, hey, you guys have overlooked me. I have a Blaney. And I also will say that I think everyone just assumes it's going to be a Toyota and Ford group, and I don't think the Hendrick cars can stay this quiet for this long. I think that is going to stir back up.
Those are hot takes. Hendrick does well next week and Ryan Blaney wins.
Yep, that's my prediction.
Jeff Burton, I hope you're watching. Write that down.
That's right.
All right. Well, thanks for hanging out with us here at Late Night at Bristol Motor Speedway. We head to Loudon, then we have Kansas, and then we'll close out this upcoming round with the Charlotte Roval. So you're going to want to stick around for Inside the Race throughout the playoffs. We'll have all your NASCAR content and break everything down. For Steve Letarte, I'm Alex Weaver. Thanks so much. We'll see you next week.